Hello everybody, Gliderman here. So today we're going to be looking at Java and doing some networking with it. So we're going to do this in multiple stages as there is a lot to cover. First we're going to start with just making a simple server and a simple client. And then we're going to just have only communicate with one, and then in the next couple episodes we'll get it to be a little bit more full-fledged, and also to be able to handle multiple clients connecting to the same server at once. So, what we're going to do is we're going to create two Java projects. We're just going to click this button up here, and then that's going to bring up the creating stuff wizard. We're going to click the little drop down for Java here. We're going to select Java project and click next. And then we're just going to give this a name. We're just going to give this a name client. Because that's what it will be. It's going to be the client, and then we're also going to have the server. And then we'll just click finish. That'll build that. And you can see up here we've got a client. Now we're also going to create another project, again a Java project, and we're going to call this one server. Finish. And now we've got the two projects there. In the client, we're going to add a package, and we're just going to name the package client. And then basically the same thing with the server, except we're going to name the package server. And now we'll also give them each a class. So client will get another Java class. We'll call it client as well. And we'll check this method kind of generator that will give us a main method. We'll click finish. That'll load up. Automatically load here. So there's what's going to be our client code, and then we're going to create a server code as well. Let's call it server, and it will also have the main method. And now it's open there. Okay. So let's first start with the client. And we're just going to make this a command line application for now, meaning we're just going to type back and forth in the command line. It would be reasonably simple to wrap it in a GUI, but that's not the point of a networking tutorial. A networking tutorial is to teach you guys how to do networking. And basically we're going to make a very basic at client thing. So let's start off by calling a constructor. So we're just going to do a new client from this main method. And then we're going to do public client. So that now we're starting to write that constructor that we called here. And this technically returns a client object. However, we just aren't using it, and therefore we don't need to assign it. Because everything will be based off of this constructor. So, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to open up a socket. So we're just going to type socket with a capital S, and we'll just name it S for now. And we're going to create a new socket, and then here we pass in two variables. If I just hit Control Space, you can see a bunch of different ways that we can do this here. However, what we're going to be doing is using the string host and then int port. So if we just click that, basically the host name will just be localhost because it's just going to be local to whatever computer you're using. And then we're going to make the port, let's make it 3333. You do not want to use something below 1024, as those are reserved ports. And you don't really want to mess with those because that can actually break your computer. Things like port 80, that's very common for HTTP, and then there's a bunch of other services that use those ports. I highly recommend you don't use those. That will probably break something in your computer. So here we're just going to surround it with a try catch, and then you can see it's automatically imported some things up here. Primarily, what's important is that it imported the socket, and then it's got these two auto-generated catches. So now we've got a socket, and so this blocks until it connects. I believe there's also a timeout that we could specify. However, we're going to assume currently the best, and we're going to assume that there's actually a server that is trying to connect to in a reasonable amount of time. So now, what I personally like to use are data input streams and data output streams. However, there are a number of different stream readers and writers, and I believe with Java 8, they redid a couple things. I'm not completely sure, but my personal way that I go about it is I use a data input and output stream. So first we're just going to do data input stream, and then we're just going to call it din, and then we're going to assign this to a new data input stream, and then this is going to use an input stream. Now where will we get this input stream from? We'll get it from the socket. So we'll do s dot, and then we'll do get output stream, just like that. So now we've got, oh, not get output stream, we want get input stream. Big difference there. So now we've got a data input stream, and then we're also going to create a data output stream. We're going to name it dout, and then it's going to be a new data output stream with s dot get output stream. There we go. So now we need to obviously import some of these things because they did not automatically import. And we want to import them from java.io, not the Corba or anything like that. I'm going to double click that, and then click this one, and then double click .io one, just like that. So now we've got a socket, and then we've got an input stream and an output stream from that. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to call a method, and it's just going to say listen for input. And we'll just make it simple like that so that the constructor does very little, and then we can start breaking our program into smaller pieces. So we're just going to go down here, and we're going to type public, and then void, because it's not going to return anything, and then we're going to create that method listen for input, just like that. And now that error should clear up. Let's just save our program real quick so that we don't suddenly lose our progress. Down here, what we're going to simply be doing is listening for input from the user, and then we're going to listen for a response from the server. After all, this is going to be some sort of chat program. This is not going to be the final implementation. We're going to work to develop this over time, over the next coming episodes. So down here, we're going to simply just do while, and then true, because we're going to just have it loop infinitely, and then basically we'll detect if the user has entered in the text quit. It'll bump out of that while loop, and then we'll close down socket and the data input and output stream. So in order to use that in this method, what we're going to do is we're going to move the socket input and output stream into a global variable. So we're just going to take this, we're going to cut, go up here, and paste, and then keep doing that for each one going down, and don't forget to add a semicolon on the end after it. And then here we'll just do s, here we'll do din, and here we'll do dout. Now also in here we're going to need a scanner, which is how we're going to be reading the user's input from the console. So we'll do scanner, and then we'll just call it console, and we'll assign that to a new scanner, and that'll read from system.in, and that will basically be the generic system input, and that will read from the console. Now we're obviously going to need to import scanner, so we're just going to click that. And now, basically each time, we're going to just say console, or we're going to block until there's actual data from the console. We're going to just do console dot as next, And here you can see returns true if the scanner has another token in its input. And actually, we're going to be using has next line. That way, it will only run when we press return. So we'll use that, and actually, we'll flip that using a not. And then we're going to basically make the thread sleep before checking again. That's just so that it doesn't eat up all of the CPU, constantly trying to say, is there a new line? Is there a new line? Is there a new line? This will give the processor a little bit of a break. Even like a 1 millisecond delay will really help, and actually that's what we'll go with. Because, you know, in comparison to how fast a computer runs, 1 millisecond is actually a pretty large amount. So obviously we'll need to surround that with a try-catch, because there's the possibility it could be interrupted. However, it's a little bit doubtful that it will in this case. So now that we know that there's another line in console, we obviously want to read that in. So we'll take a string, and we'll just call it input, and we'll do console dot next line. And so that will automatically pull in that line. It should not contain a \n or a new line character. Those are basically the same thing. It should have stripped that out. Now, what we'll do is, to our data output stream, we'll write that string that we got from. So we'll do dout dot, and then we'll do write. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the write UTF, and the write UTF will kind of be a little bit funky, but basically we'll use the input. There is a corresponding method called read UTF, and basically it adds a checksum to the string that it sends. That way it can confirm that it got it properly. However, it's also limited to UTF-8, which means you're limited to 256 different characters. And depending on your keyboards and how many emoticons you're trying to send through, it probably won't work super well with all of those. So keep that in mind if you're using the write UTF. That's where some of the other file or stream readers and writers would come in handy, where they could handle 16 or possibly 32, I'm not sure, bit character strings. So what we're just going to do is we're going to surround this with a try-catch. Yes, there's a lot of these, but they're kind of necessary because there's a lot of things that could theoretically go wrong with the code, is basically how it works. And we'll just continue to write our code in this try-catch, because if it failed to do that, then clearly there's something wrong and we need to stop that. And in this catch, we'll actually write a break. That way it can break out of this while loop here. And then at the end, we'll be closing up all of our streams. So anyway, now that we've written our data, now we need to wait for it. And again, we're going to do something very similar to this, where we're going to do while, and then not, and then din dot c. I think this is available. Yep. So while available, and actually we don't want the not there. While available equals 0, while there's nothing available for it to read, then we're going to do the thread dot sleep for 1 millisecond, just so that it has a little bit of breather on the CPU. This should not prevent it from actually receiving that data. So now we've got that in there, and then down here, because obviously after that while it clearly has that data, we're now going to do string, and then we'll call this a reply is assigned din dot read UTF, and that will basically do a symmetrical thing with the write UTF, where it'll make sure the checksum's all good. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to do system.out print line, and then we're just going to print the reply. Simple as that. So basically, waits until there's a line from the console, and then it will write that out to the server. While there's nothing coming back, it'll just stall, and then when there is something, it'll say, hey, there it is, okay, print to the console, and then go back up to the top waiting for the console to input. We'll obviously work on the next couple of episodes to enhance that and make sure that we can actually receive messages while, like from another client, for instance, while we're typing or doing nothing. But for now, I think that's good for the client. And now we'll move on to the server. So, here we are with another blank slate, and we'll just delete this comment here that's automatically generated, and we'll say, hey, create a new server, and then in its constructor, we'll start creating that. So what we're going to be using is a server socket. And actually, I just realized we didn't properly handle the stuff down here. I did forget something. So, the first thing is that we obviously need to close everything, because it is bad to leave things hanging open, because that's just resources that you're taking away from the computer, and in this case, it's actually ports that you're taking away from the computer and locking up. So, let's do din.close, dout.close, and s.close. There we go. So, all of these should display that they want try catch surrounding them, and that's just in case, something goes wrong with the I/O. I don't know. There can be some funky situations where closing doesn't work properly. And what we need to do here is also check if the input from the console equals the string quit, in which case we'll just break out of this while loop so that it can close properly. So we'll just do if input dot equals, and you don't want to use equals equals, you want to use this actual method equals to compare strings, and then quit, then we'll just break. And actually, we'll do if the input dot to lowercase. That way, no matter how you spell it, whether it's quit all caps, quit with a capital Q and lowercase u-i-n-t, it'll all check out and it will say, okay, you can quit. So, I think now the client is good, and we'll save that and move on to the server. So, here we're going to create a server socket. Type server socket using camel case. Just that. We'll just call it SS. And, it would probably be a good idea to make these global variables. Let's do that. So, there's our server socket. Can't be resolved. We're going to import the one from java.net. And then we'll do SS, assign new server socket. And then this should just take a port here. And then we're going to use the same port, so 3333. If you have chosen a different port in the client, make sure that they're the same. Otherwise, things are not going to connect at all. So we're just going to surround that with a try catch in case the port is blocked or taken up by something already. It most likely is free. There's like 65,000 ports that you can use. And if you find one that's just not working for you at all, just switch to a different one. It's reasonably simple to do. You just change that number. Make sure to do it on both, though. So now we've got that server socket, and now we need to basically accept a connection. So this is just going to be very rudimentary and technically incorrect, but this is just to get the basics down. So we're just going to have a socket. We're going to call it S. Looks like we need to import that. So just import that from the job.net. and then we're going to do s is assigned ss.accept. And so basically, this accept method will block until there is a connection from another socket, such as this new socket that we're creating here in the client. And then once it has that accepted, this socket variable will be valid, and then we can handle its data. So now we're just going to call a new method that we're going to create, listen for data, call it listen for data, and then we'll go down here, and we'll do public void, because it won't need to return something, listen for data. Listen for data. There we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to also have a while loop. Just make it true there, like that. So now we're going to, we need to open those data input and output streams. So we'll go up here and we'll create a data input stream. We'll just call it dn, and then data output stream, and we'll call it dout. So here we'll do dn is assigned new data input stream, and then that will be wrapped around s.getInputStream, that, and then dout is assigned a new data output stream, and that will be s.getOutputStream, just like that. And now it's going to say, hey, you need to import that stuff. So we're just going to import that stuff from java.io. Like that. And now we've got the data input stream, the data output stream, and we're all good to go. So now we're going to wait for dn.available while it equals 0. We're going to run that thread.keep for 1 millisecond. And then looks like we'll need to surround stuff with a try catch. Okay, looks like the interrupted exception went out here. Let's allow the thread to have its exception here. There we go. And we'll also break from this method here. That way when the client disconnects and dn isn't properly connected to anything anymore, the while loop will break open and go to the end there. So we've got that while loop. It's checking to see if there's data available. When there is, and it's exited that while loop, now we're going to do string data in is assigned dn.read utf, and then we're going to basically just echo it back. So we're going to do dout.write utf, and that's going to just take data in, and then it will be back out to the client where it'll read it in and then wait for the user to input something and then go back here and just continue in that cycle. So now we just need to clean up this. So after that while loop, we're going to do dn.close, dout.close, and s.close, and I think we'll do ss.close, yep. So closing everything out there to make sure it is clean as possible and open for the next program that wants to use those ports. So we'll move everything into that one try catch there, and we'll save it, remove that comment there, here. I think the server and the client are ready to go. Oops, I accidentally did too much there. Let's see. Everything looks good now. So let's run the server. So we're going to click this little drop down here, and then we're going to run as a Java application, and that'll launch it. You can see it's launching server. There won't be anything in the console just yet because it actually doesn't output anything to the console. Only the client will. So let's go to the client, and we'll run as a Java application. And there we go. So the client is there. And if you wanted to get to the server's log, you would just click that little drop down, and then you can select whichever one it is there. We're in the client, and then we're going to just say hello, and then press return. And then you can see hello was echoed back. So yeah, that's how we make a very simple, rudimentary server in Java. We'll obviously be working on making it better in the future, but that proves the basic concepts. And I guess I will note now, while the cursor displays that it is here, technically it is down here. It just doesn't, the Eclipse console doesn't quite work super properly. Like if I just typed M, you can see it automatically snaps down. That's just how it works. So, I hope this was useful for you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. If you want to be notified the instant next one comes out, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye!